A very good morning once again. This is a Hope at Dawn, and it's time for us to now peruse through the newspapers. But thank you to the people who are tuned into the show, and of course, my mom being our amazing big fan, and I say my tune powerful devotion, and she's acknowledging that indeed waking up today is a real sacrifice. It was definitely cold. So thank you even to those who have woken up with me this morning, even to tune into the show. God bless you immensely. And it's time for us to now look at the newspapers. And the top story here, quite interesting, is saying here that it's lies and more taxes. Bishops blast Ruto's government. So I guess the Occupy Church is kind of working now. So cabinet says the economy on track with the revenue collections doubling and food prices falling. So in a stinging statement yesterday, Catholic clergy took on the Kenya Kwanza administration over a myriad of grievances it blamed for Kenyans' continued suffering. And let's just go to that story and see what exactly is happening. And I see here that yesterday the bishops expressed disappointment that things had gotten worse, with the government even attempting reintroduction of some of the taxes through the Tax Laws Amendment Bill 2024 and Tax Procedures Amendment Bill 2024. So the bishops criticized the government for always ignoring their concerns, warning it had now gone an extra mile and perpetuated a culture of lies that is slowly eroding Kenyans' trust and hope in the government. That statement right there, hope in government. No wonder we say, let us not place our hope in government or on anything in this world. It is only hope that is placed in God that can never ever disappoint. But that's a story on page 4. Page 5, economy on right track, says cabinet to answer that. So Dispatch also cites falling food prices and record low inflation. So 14 million Kenyans have registered with SHA is information right there. And I see here that the government also boasted of doubling its revenues, with the Kenya Revenue Authority recording double-digit growth in collections. Tax revenue rose by 11.5% in the year to June 2024. And I'm also seeing here at the same time the cabinet also approved transfer of Amboseli National Park to Kajiado County government, which is actually the latest move by the government. Is supposed to be a boost to the devolved units, which have always wanted a share of the revenue generated by national parks. So even as the bishops are complaining on the government sort of perpetrating a culture of lies, then the cabinet actually is answering that by saying, no, the economy is right on track. And what they are using to base that statement on is the fact that the taxes are being collected and they have raised over 11.5% more with KRA. So we continue to look at that, and that is on pages 4 and 5. You can look at it in more details. And still on the top page, why Kuppet now risks suffering same fate that brought NAT to its knees. So the Teacher Service Commission has withheld millions of shillings due to the union in member fees since August, when the leadership called a national strike. This is a story that is well done on the back page. So Kuppet risks suffering the same fate as NAT. And I see here that we've been there before, and we can see far. We withdrew the notice and our members are safe. I wasn't in a popularity contest and therefore did what was right. Kuppet has accused us of being government agents. What they did for a long time is what we are now doing. They'll suffer, Mr. Oyu told Nation. And this is the NAT Secretary General Collins Oyu predicting the punishment that awaited Kuppet. And he is also adding, we've been there before and we can see far. And that's a story that is on the back page. And we move on to the second page, and I see Laboso family locked in 537 million dispute bank. So widower told to explain why he used letterhead, yet he was not a company director. That's a story on page 2. Page 3, how Nairobi shipped American governor. So the new Delaware leader studied under the sharp minds of Professor Kivutha Kibwana and Justice Smokin Wanjala at the University of Nairobi. He finds himself yearning for the familiar rhythm of Swahili words that once became part of his soul. And this is page 3, that feature. You can look at it right there. And coming down to page 6, I see where ICS Chirchiro's defense of Adani avoided dark past. So legislatures take minister to task over dealings of Indian firm that won 96 billion shilling tender in the energy sector. And page 7, outpatient care now out of reach. This is thanks to SHA. So we are seeing records at level 2 and 3 hospitals are not digitized yet. These institutions are expected to refer cases to higher level hospitals. So that's a story on page 7. And I see here another hurdle the sick person will face is that lower level hospitals are not staffed or equipped to handle complex outpatient cases, which will traditionally be seen at higher level medical institutions. A story on page 7. And moving on to the DN2, that is The Voice this morning. We look at a story here from Nairobi to the world. Trailblazer from childhood patient to global health care leader, Dr. Jacqueline Kitulu becomes first Kenyan to head the World Medical Association, bringing African perspective and innovative solutions to physicians across 115 countries. Isn't that a beautiful story? It's definitely a beautiful story. Still on the DN2, The Voice today, meet the women turning domestic abuse into farming triumphs through collective power. That's a story on page 7. Good read how Leah was rescued from sexual abuse at the hands of R. Kelly. That's a story international, but it's a good read, and you can look at that on page 8. And I see here, moving to that story on page 6, which I believe is interesting, how fight against GBV became a food security solution for women farmers who turned their household struggles into agricultural empowerment. So for those even who are suffering, this whole GBV thing, that means that they can access the help that they need. Beatrice Wangui here saying, we learned how domestic disputes directly affect food security. When a woman abandons her farm due to violence at home, her family loses their food source, creating a vicious cycle of hardships. And coming down to page 7, I see this is our fight. Kenyan healthcare providers brace for Trump presidency. And I see Kenya's reproductive healthcare providers face crisis after Donald Trump presidential victory as he plans to ban US-funded groups from providing abortion services. And I see under Trump's first administration, Kenya's anti-abortion movement became particularly pronounced. I mean, since Trump entered into government, the US government, they've been a lot of accolades and going even towards that direction. From ending homosexuality and now, of course, going against abortion and all that. So there's quite a lot of change that many are expecting and just looking to see how will this turn out, because clearly Trump is very loud about putting God first, even in the ways in which he's governing already. But we wait and see. We wait and see how it turns out as the years go by. But it is indeed a thing to be glad about. Page 8, I see here, we weep, we rise. Why Harris' loss won't break our spirit. Then here you get some women who really wanted for Kamala Harris, of course, to enter into government. But anyway, we are seeing an American friend who voted for Kamala confess that she wept when the results were announced. But anyway, it is God who determines who steps into authority. But moving on, let us go to the sports page. And I see here today, Zimbabwe stand between Kenya and Promised Land. Harambee Stars must slay the Warriors today in South Africa to keep finals dream alive. Let's keep praying for our nation with that regard. And I see High Coast of Kenya playing AFCON home fixtures away, and I see about 20 million shillings is spent to prepare a team for a fixture played outside Kenya. A statement by the FKF. And of course, the stats are showing that we have 3 home matches that Kenya will play in the entire 2025 AFCON qualifiers in Kampala. Uganda, and Polokwane, South Africa. 4.3 million shillings being the approximate cash that FKF spent to fly Harambee Stars to Kampala for their 2 home matches against Zimbabwe and Cameroon, and 2,615 kilometers distance between Nairobi and Peter Mokaba Stadium in South Africa, where Kenya their AFCON qualifying home match against Namibia coming Tuesday. And now we can move on to the Standard. And this morning, the Standard here, of course, still on the same story of bishops here, saying that bishops take on Ruto over killings graft. So Catholic bishops sharply criticized President Ruto's government, citing unexplained killings, abductions, rampant corruption, and a growing culture of deceit. They want the president to address critical issues, including chaotic new healthcare program, university funding mess, and confusion in CBC rollout. So this is a statement by the clergy, page 4, being represented by Bishop Maurice Muhatia, saying corruption may not always involve financial benefits, but the unjust use of authority. The massive greed we are witnessing is shocking and also heartbreaking. And moving on, I see still on the top page, parents under fire for aiding exam cheating. This is a story on page 5. Interesting. Parents themselves aiding cheating. This is a story on page 5 that I think we need to look at, because I feel like this is quite interesting. I see that the parents are the weakest link in exam cheating. Here's a statement by the PS saying Kipsang said some parents were complicit in exam malpractices. A suspect's account revealed how crooks are taking advantage of parents and also students. And I see Collins Kipchumba, 23, was arrested and accused of attempting to mislead the public into believing he could leak KCSE exam papers ahead of time for a fee. So parents here, jamani, sio vizuri hata kidogo, because this could affect them in the future. It is good that they do work honestly. And of course, moving on, still on the top page, I see Ngilu and Wambua clash. This is a story in the counties that is on page 20. Copback profit hits 19 billion shillings. That's on the business page this morning, page 22. And I also see a proposed law to guide public participation. So Bill Anthony General proposes creation of Office of Registrar of Public Participation, sets out new rules. And I see man denied job for being overqualified. That's a story covered on page 3. So I'm seeing here that appointment halted for contravening principles of public service, Article 232. Court notes recruitment process was tainted with indirect discrimination. A story on page 3. And page 10 today, of course, we know about the COP29 hot debate at COP29 over public or private funding of climate projects. African nations bearing huge burden in global financing for climate adaptation. So for every $100 in climate finance, less than 50 cents went towards adaptation projects. A story covered on page 10. Page 11, I see Governor Carrier downplays ouster motion. That's a story covered on page 11. And now moving on to the sports page this morning. In the Standard, if only Harambee Stars could make our dreams come true. Of course, we keep praying for our Harambee Stars, and I see here Kenya eyes crucial AFCON win against Zimbabwe. We pray that all goes well. But just to understand, there have been 12 previous meetings between these two teams. So 6 is the amount of matches that Kenya has won, while 5 ended in draws. Zimbabwe has won just one match against Kenya. Kenya are undefeated in their last 7 games in this fixture. So definitely with that, we can predict that Kenya could be on the winning end, and we pray for their success so that they can represent us well in the AFCON. And I see page 31, it's battle for the fittest in FKF elections. For branches given clean bill of health as FKF hold county elections. A story on page 31. And moving on now to the Business Daily. We see top story here, 97% of state farms hide beneficiaries of tenders. So IMF report shows low compliance with beneficial ownership disclosure rules. Government promises sanctions in planned changes to public procurement laws. And I see here still on the top page, drop in fuel use denies Treasury 5.63 billion in levies. Also, interest on land rates default to be capped. Cooperative profit up by 4.4%, which is up to 19.2 billion in the 9 months of trading ended September 2024, and unit trust asset rise by 62.3 billion. That's the asset under the management AUM by collective investment schemes rose by a record of 62.3 billion in 3 months ended September to hit 316.4 billion. Back page today, what investors can do as U.S. market grows stronger under Trump. So maximizing returns from your portfolio in 2025 increasingly means looking to U.S. So that's a story on the back page. I'm sure those who are passionate about investing can really learn a lot. And today the last word is from Michelle Obama, the former First Lady, United States. And she says here, becoming isn't about arriving somewhere or achieving a certain aim. I see it instead as forward motion, a means of evolving, a way to reach continuously towards a better self. The journey doesn't end. And I believe this is actually from her book, Becoming. And that's it for the Business Daily, the Daily Nation, and also the Standard. We've gotten to be updated. Hopefully you also have been informed, and now we know how to pray and also continue praying for our nation. I mean, I guess it's a good move when the bishops have come out and to just talk about openly about the government and the changes that need to be seen. So let's keep praying for our nation because it's working, and I believe that the Lord is just warning them and sending those warnings and making sure that the information is out there so that when anything happens, we won't say hawakuambiwa. So definitely it's a good thing that we continue to pray for the nation. I believe change is our portion and it shall come at the right time. And you can tune in to Hope FM as well. We have news updates for you at the top of every hour. And right here at Hope TV, Dira at 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. Newswatch will inform you even more about what's happening in our nation and also beyond. Let's now have a look at the video of the day.